You think getting into the pre-charged pneumatic game means you have to drain your bank account? You think these budget rigs are just oversized toys built for plinking cans? You have never seen what is dropping in 2026. Look, I hear the traditional firearm guys all the time laughing at the idea of an airgun for serious pesting. They drop $1,500 on a setup and think they are the only ones who can take down small game at 50 yards. They are dead wrong. The engineering coming out right now is absolutely insane. We are talking regulated actions, shrouded barrels that make these things mouse fart quiet, and side lever systems that feel like butter, all for under a few $100. If you are still buying overhyped, overpriced gear just because of the logo on the stock, you are bleeding cash for no reason. Honestly, the barrier to entry has never been lower, but the woods are still full of cheap plastic garbage that will leak air on day 2. I have spent the last month testing the absolute best budget hardware on the market to filter out the noise. Here is the deal. This is the definitive top 5 list of budget PCP air rifles for beginners that are actual tack drivers downrange. Starting us off at number 5 is the Gamo Arrow. Look, if you are strictly limited by your wallet and just want to dip your toes into the PCP world, this rig sets the absolute floor for entry. Coming in at roughly $179, it is incredibly cheap and extremely easy to fill. You can top it off to 3,200 PSI with just around 60 strokes of a manual hand pump. That makes it highly accessible for backyard plinking, but you are definitely getting what you pay for in the trigger department. Pulling this trigger feels mushy, and it breaks like a thick piece of cheap plastic snapping in half. When it finally lets the air loose, it fires with a dull, hollow thud that sounds like a wet tennis ball hitting a garage door. Now, let us talk about the internals. The transfer port on an airgun is the vital pathway that routes high-pressure air from the valve directly into the barrel to push the pellet. On the Arrow, this port and the surrounding air seals are built into a monolithic, single-piece molded construction. While that keeps manufacturing costs dirt cheap, it means the internal seals take the full, unrelenting shock of every single firing cycle without any modular metal buffer to absorb the stress. And that leads directly to the massive deal breaker on this platform. The build quality and integrated design mean that after 500 or 600 shots, those seals are highly prone to failure. Because it is a monolithic block, you cannot just strip it down on your workbench and replace a cheap O-ring in 10 minutes. When it goes down, you are likely looking at a frustrating warranty return that keeps you off the range for weeks. This is a decent disposable starter rig for the absolute beginner, but wait until you see the incredibly tuned, modular powerhouse we have waiting at number 1. I know the traditional firearm guys will doubt this, but sound off below in the comments if you have dispatched tough pests in thick brush with a heavy-hitting bullpup. Stepping up the power for number 4, we have the Snowpeak T-Rex. This rig is all about raw power packed into a tight footprint. By shifting the entire breech and action behind the pistol grip, you get the ballistic advantage of a long barrel without carrying around a flagpole in the woods. It spits 22 caliber lead out to the tune of 30 foot-pounds of energy. If you step up to the 25 cal, this thing throws heavy pellets downrange at an incredible 46 foot-pounds. Under the hood, you need to understand how bullpup triggers operate. Unlike a traditional rifle where the sear drops directly under your finger, a bullpup relies on a long metal linkage rod connecting the forward trigger to the rear action. When you apply pressure, that rod transfers the force backward to release the hammer. Because of that massive linkage, the trigger creeps like a rusted door hinge before it finally snaps. When the hammer does drop, the T-Rex barks like a heavy pneumatic staple gun. Here is the major drawback. The ergonomics are rough, weighing in at over 8 pounds bare. It is an absolute brick to carry around all day. The learning curve on shouldering this chunky block of polymer is steep, making it tough for smaller shooters to find their balance point quickly. Entering the elite tier, sitting at number 3 is the Umarex Zelos. This rig is essentially the big brother to the number 1 gun on our list. built for guys who want more air and more modularity. Pushing 22 lead downrange, this rifle gives you anywhere from 25 to 50 consistent shots on a single fill. That high shot count is largely thanks to its ability to seamlessly run a lightweight carbon fiber bottle. To really understand why this gun hits so hard, you need to look at the massive power plenum sitting right behind the valve. A power plenum stores a precise volume of fully regulated air directly on standby. When you pull the trigger, the valve gets an immediate, uninterrupted dump of high-pressure air instead of waiting for air to travel from the main tank. That instant, regulated delivery is what lets you tune this system to sling heavy slugs accurately without tearing the gun completely apart. Under the finger, the two-stage trigger snaps like a crisp glass rod. When that hammer strikes, the rifle fires with the sharp crack of a heavy bullwhip. But here is the damage to your wallet, and it is a major drawback. The base rifle sets you back around $600, which is double the price of our top pick. On top of that, the factory setup is relatively loud, meaning you will have to spend even more cash on a massive aftermarket moderator to make it backyard friendly. That extra length completely kills the compact nature of the gun, turning a sleek carbine into a long and unwieldy pole. Closer to the crown, sitting at number 2 is the Umarex Komplete NitroAir. Listen, this rifle completely flips the script on what a beginner setup looks like. If you want to absolutely avoid buying a $300 compressor or sweating over a manual hand pump, this is your ticket. Instead of a traditional air tank, it runs on proprietary disposable nitrogen cartridges that are pressurized to 3,600 psi. It pushes 22 cal pellets with around 25 foot-pounds of energy, giving you about 45 fully regulated shots per cartridge. The reason this nitrogen system is such a massive game changer comes down to thermodynamic stability. Unlike carbon dioxide, which freezes up and drops pressure dramatically when the weather gets cold, compressed nitrogen is virtually unaffected by ambient temperature changes. That means the internal valve gets the exact same consistent pressure to drive the pellet, whether you are hunting in the freezing snow or the blazing summer heat. Pulling the trigger on this rig snaps like a thick, dry carrot breaking in half. When it lets loose, the report sounds exactly like a quick burst from a heavy pneumatic roofing nailer. But here is the absolute truth regarding its major air quirk. You are completely chained to a proprietary fuel source. If you run dry in the middle of the woods, you cannot just hook it up to a buddy's air tank or pump it back up manually. Once that cartridge is tapped out, the gun becomes an expensive club until you thread a new tube in, making you completely dependent on your physical supply of throwaway cartridges. We have seen rigs on this list that offer dirt-cheap entry points, and we have seen systems that completely eliminate the need for a heavy air compressor. But if you want the absolute pinnacle of budget performance, the undisputed king of 2026 is the Umarex Notos 22 Carbine. This rig dominates the sub-$300 market because it gives you the pinpoint accuracy and internal regulation of rifles that cost 3 times as much. When we talk about comparative dominance, it completely shames the Gamo arrow in sheer durability, offering a robust metal action that will not break down and leak after a few tins of pellets. Furthermore, while the Umarex Komplete NitroAir permanently chains you to buying proprietary disposable cartridges, the Notos utilizes a highly efficient internal air cylinder that is incredibly easy to fill with a cheap manual hand pump. To understand why this carbine is perfect for suburban pesting, you have to look under the shroud. It utilizes an integrated baffle system inside the shrouded barrel that physically strips the turbulent, high-pressure air away from the pellet the split second it exits the muzzle. By redirecting that expanding gas, it absolutely kills the noise signature, making it truly backyard friendly. Pulling the trigger on the Notos feels like a thin sheet of winter ice cracking under your boot. When the shot breaks, the gun is virtually dead silent. You hear nothing but the dull metallic click of the hammer striking the valve. It pushes .22 caliber lead at roughly 20 foot-pounds of energy, giving you 21 incredibly consistent regulated shots per fill. This is not just a great beginner gun, it is a lightweight modular tack driver that you will never outgrow. That wraps up the top 5 budget lineup for 2026. Look, picking your first PCP does not have to be a massive headache or drain your wallet dry. Whether you are running disposable nitrogen on the Komplete or hand pumping the Notos in your backyard, the hardware is out there to get you putting lead on target right now. Stop making excuses about the cost of entry. Grab a solid rig and get behind the trigger. If you want the raw truth without the marketing fluff, lock it in right here.